Hi, everybody. This is Sophie in Dallas, Texas on Thursday, July the 23rd. And welcome to our commentary. Well, it's extremely hot here in North Texas again. Um, it's like this every year. I know everybody wants to talk about, you know, the summer heat, but it's like this every year. I mean, we have these, doesn't necessarily happen at the same time, but we always have one of these in July or August where it just gets, you know, unbearably hot, where you don't really have the energy to do anything other than to stay inside. And if you have a car, make sure that you have a shade when you drive it, because it gets awfully hot. It feels like an oven when you get into the car at 5 o'clock. So it's just one of those times, one of those days of the year, weeks of the year in Texas when it gets like this. And what can you say other than, hey, it happens. It happens. And when it's real cold in January, we'll miss one of these days. I mean, that's all I can say. You know, when it's like snowy or icy and the streets are full of ice and you cannot move your car in July. I mean, in January, we'll look back at the end of July and say, "Oh man, wouldn't it be nice to have a little heat again?" So it happens every year. This is the way Texas is. No need to make any profound statement about anything. This is just the way Texas is. I have a post over at the American Thinker today. It's getting a lot of play over there at the American Thinker. I'm getting a lot of comments on it, and it's available at AmericanThinker.com. And it's about Mayor Mamdani of New York City, who just seems to be, I don't know, sometimes I get the feeling that he's more interested in being something other than the mayor of New York City. I mean, when you're the mayor of a city, especially New York City, there's a lot of stuff going on in your city to keep you pretty busy. I mean, you have the usual stuff that most mayors have to deal with. But Mamdani is one of these guys who thinks he's the mayor of, I don't know, he's the mayor of the world or something like that. So, last week he created a lot of controversy saying that he was going to arrest the prime minister of Israel when he went there, I guess, for the UN meeting or whatever. And he created a lot of controversy. He said he was going to look into it. He didn't know if he had the authority to arrest him. So he said he was going to meet with his legal department and they were going to look into it. Well, they did meet, or at least get back to him. And they said, no, you do not have the authority to arrest the mayor, the mayor of, or the prime minister of another country. First of all, there's a law that was passed back in 2002, and it was intended basically to protect American troops and American diplomats. And it was about these indictments, like the one from the International Court of Justice. And the law basically says that justice, or that court of justice, doesn't have any jurisdiction over an American citizen, an American national, and no mayor in a U.S. city can do it in the name, or can also indict somebody in the name of the ICJ. So, look, it wasn't that hard to figure this out. He should have known this, but I think it was all sort of a publicity stunt on the part of Mayor Mamdani. I think he wanted the publicity. He wanted to talk about it. So that is what he got. We're talking about it. But it doesn't make him look real smart, but especially in a city right now undergoing so many problems like New York City's having. He should be focusing on indicting and arresting the criminals running around New York City. He should be worried about that instead of worried about the prime minister of Israel with some stupid politicized case. He should worry about the real problems affecting his city. He should also take a look at the number of people leaving his city who are simply packing up and leaving, especially people with money, people who create jobs, people who pay taxes. They're packing up and leaving New York City. So that's where he should be focusing on. He should be focusing more on potholes, on traffic, on just the stuff that mayors do. I mean, mayor's a very difficult job in most cases because you've got a lot of easy problem. They look easy, but they're not easy problems. And maybe he should read a book about Mayor Daley of Chicago. Mayor Daley was the mayor of Chicago for a long time. He was, let's say, a pretty tough mayor. He ran the city like his own little private business. And I don't mean that to say that he was making money. What I meant to say is, what I mean by that is that he would drive around and he would see construction problems and he would see potholes. And he would tell his assistants, look, I want that fixed in a week. And then a week later or whatever, he'd drive by again. And if it wasn't fixed, somebody was going to catch hell. But Mayor Daley understood the job of being a mayor. And he concentrated on that. He understood the job of crime and keeping his city safe so that people could go out, so that people could run a business without having, gangs running around terrorizing small businesses. And I think Mr. Mamdani should read about a mayor like that and try to learn from that story something about running New York City. He's running the city of New York. He has nothing to do with the United Nations or the world or anything like that. He's running the city of New York, and that's what he should focus on. And stop trying to be a big international hero, saying that he's going to indict the prime minister of Israel. Come on. He's got better things to do. Believe me, he's got many more important things to do than to be focusing on stuff like this. So I'm glad that he at least told us publicly that he doesn't have the authority to do it. He didn't need a memo from the legal department to figure that out. A 12-year-old would have told him that. But Mayor Mamdani likes the publicity, and I think this is all part of the publicity stunt. And he got publicity out of it. I've got a post coming out Friday morning about this young woman, Sophie Cunningham. Now, I'm not a fan of the WNBA, the Women's League. I don't really follow it. I have never watched a game. I do see some of these clips that they put on X, particularly these clips of these girls acting as if they're playing rugby. I mean, some of these girls can be pretty rough with each other. So, as you probably know, Caitlin Clark has been the target of many, many attacks like this and some pretty rough fouls. And Sophie Cunningham has jumped into the scene because she and Caitlin are teammates. So she's out there protecting her, and they get into these fights in the game and so on and so on. As I say, I don't watch it, but I do catch some of the clicks that show up on X or the internet or whatever. However, she is now creating a lot of controversy because she came out against boys competing with girls. And she calls it a matter of common sense. She doesn't say she's against anybody. She's just saying it's not fair for girls to have to compete with boys. And she talks about the biological differences of men and women. Something that, as I write on my post, something that used to make a lot of sense before. I mean, when I was growing up, it was almost like, if you told somebody that a guy was going to play on the girls' team, they would kind of look at you and say, what is this? What do you mean a guy is going to play in the girls' team? A guy is much stronger, much bigger, much faster. That's why they separate sports. That's why they have men's sports and they have women's sports. And that's the way it's always been. But here recently, of course, I guess people want to be different. And they want to promote this idea of men competing with girls. And the consequence has not been good. Because aside from the fact that some of these girls have been hurt by the physical contact, that story of the young woman, wherever it was, who was playing volleyball and her face or her mouth or something was significantly damaged by a transgender student or whatever. But, at one time that all made a lot of sense, and nobody had to think about this. Nobody had to justify it or explain it. But now it's become kind of, I guess, cool or woke or whatever. And the WNBA has become sort of the capital of woke. And you hear a lot of people criticizing Sophie, And Sophie is, I respect Sophie. She came out and said, no, this is what I believe. It's common sense. And I'm protecting little girls from men competing with them. And also, I'm protecting little girls in the bathroom. I don't want men in a girl's bathroom. So she makes a lot of sense in what she's saying. I mean, there's nothing weird about what she's saying, nothing strange about what she's saying other than just common sense. But she's catching a lot of flack for that. And I'm sure it'll pass. It'll pass. And Sophie will, I don't know, maybe she'll address the Republican convention in 28. It would be cool if she did, because I think she's becoming quite popular. But the WNBA needs to kind of look at itself in the mirror and ask itself, is it really a women's league, or is it a political program? What is it? Because it just seems that they're always promoting too much woke. And I don't think that's helping them draw people. I mean, Caitlin Clark, probably the biggest thing that ever happened to him, in the sense that people actually tune in to watch Caitlin. But she gets a lot of heat. And some of these fouls against Caitlin, my gosh, it looks like I say, playing rugby. It's absolutely out of line. So, but I do like Sophie for coming out and saying that boys are boys and girls are girls. That makes a lot of sense. And as she said, it's just common sense. There's nothing love or hate about what she's saying. It's just common sense. Well, on this day in history, we remember Pee Wee Reese. If you're a baseball historian or a baseball fan, or you love baseball history, Pee Wee Reese used to play with the Brooklyn Dodgers, and he was the captain of the Brooklyn Dodgers, and he was their shortstop and the captain when they won the World Series. I mean, he was a very good player, actually, and in the major leagues as a shortstop, as a hitter. And he also spent 3 years in military service, which probably cost him, he retired with 2,170 hits. I think had he played those 3 seasons rather than serve in the military, probably would have ended his season with 2,500, his career with 2,500, maybe 2,600 hits, which is a pretty significant figure. But anyway, he was born on this day in Kentucky, quite a personality in baseball history. And he's remembered also for one thing. When Jackie Robinson came up to the majors, he went through, obviously, a lot of troubles, a lot of fans who weren't ready for the first black player. And it was Pee Wee Reese who basically, protected Jackie Robinson in the sense that he made everybody understand that Jackie was a part of the team. And he became sort of not a big brother, not that, but somebody who was a really good friend of Jackie. And later, many years later, Rachel Robinson, Jackie's widow, said that Pee Wee Reese was very important in helping Jackie in those early years when it was rough for Jackie Robinson whenever he would go on the road to play with Dodgers. So we remember today Pee Wee Reese. Always loved that name, Pee Wee Reese, one of the great baseball players of the 20th century, and without question, a good man as well. Thank you for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later.